May I ask you now, when you first heard about the mission, did they give you any context on what's going on? And if so, did it drive you to want to go in Kosovo and help?
Well, they gave me my parameters. They told me what my job is. They told me the expectations. One of the things over the years that I've always done and still do, I have a soft heart. I will do anything for anybody. And I always try to right a wrong. Uh, I do the things that I do. Sometimes I go into different areas to help the abused, to help people. And I don't like seeing children uh, having a rough life because I've been in their shoe and I know what war is like. So when they gave me that mission, I, I did not hesitate. I said, yeah, I will do it. Okay. And what's great are the people that I worked with uh, had faith in me. Not only my company, but the U.S. government that I worked through, the personnel that I worked with. Okay. Uh, so I uh, accepted the mission, but I could not leave. Okay. It took a while for me to leave because the requirement by the Serbs, they wanted, well, the Americans, what they wanted to do is give us all diplomatic passports. So we'd have diplomatic immunity
Mm-hmm.
so that we're covered under the Geneva Core Conventions. And we're also treated a little bit differently because we were diplomats. So the thing that delayed my going in was basically I did not have my diplomatic passport, so I had to wait. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and where did I wait? In Sarajevo. Once I received my diplomatic passport, okay, packed my stuff, and believe it or not, took about 300 Deutsche marks in cash with me. Uh, I was in Bosnia, but we had people that were already in Belgrade.
Mm-hmm.
We set up an operation in Belgrade, and then we dispatched our people from Belgrade to Kosovo because the Serbs required that we get lična cards, the personnel cards, and we had to go through a briefing with the department, with the U.S. Embassy, and the do's and don'ts and the expectations and things like that before we could go down to the mission in Kosovo. I get in there and the customs officer goes, basically, he wanted to check my bags. I held up my passport, diplomat. Didn't understand, didn't over. Anyway, I said, chief, chief. So he brings me his chief who speaks little English.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell him, I need to go through. He goes, we must check. I said, diplomat. He goes, we must check. At that time, they were watching CNN on the big screens, and they mentioned Monica Lewinsky because that was the time that he was having problems. So I looked at him and said, "Oh, I know Monica Lewinsky," and he started laughing. He just said, "He let me through." So I got there and went to our headquarters, our operations, in Belgrade. Excuse me. Waited till I got my card. As soon as I got my card, I got transportation. That was diplomatic transportation that took me down to Pristina. Yeah. Pristina, we were staying at a hotel that we rented at Kosovo Polje, where we set up operations. Okay, and that was where I stayed initially. And the first week or so, I went around to meet all my people, also to give them money because they were running out of cash, okay, to live on and all that, and started working the diplomatic portion of it, working with the personnel there from the U.S. government that gave me directions and asked me to do things, and I would do. There's things within my company. We have limitations. The contract says A, B, C. We can't go outside of that contract. If we go outside that contract, that's work that's being done for free. So, you have to be smart, say, no, this is extra, and work on a proposal for it. But anyway,
May I
that's,
ask you, with the contracts that you said you had ABC, did you ever want to add anything to those contracts that they did not permit, but you knew that it was needed?
uh, yes. And the way you work it is basically you have the people in country that try to tell you how to run operations and do things and the expectations. But you also have what they call a contract technical officer, okay, that technical representative, okay, and their expertise lies outside of the people on the ground because he's looking at it from a technical and operational point of view, okay? If you say, okay, here's the problem, here's what we can do. However, this is what we also need to complete the mission. And that person basically reviews what you put in together and looks if it's really needed or not, the feasibility of it. And then that's how they say, yeah, we do need this, and they'll add money or whatever. Or they might send somebody in country to shadow you and have you show them what's going on and the actual operation on the ground and see what people are experiencing in order to make those changes. So yes, okay. So we started operations anyway. The mission went from Kosovo Diplomatic Observation Mission. A few months later, OSCE came in and we split into two operations. Actually, there were three. The Brits had the British Diplomatic Observation Mission. The US had Kosovo Diplomatic Observation Mission, and then OSCE, which was the European Union, okay, that included the US. Yeah. So initially, my people were special operations, special forces, Navy SEALs, and all that stuff that went to check everything every day to see if they were meeting the agreement that Milosevic and Holbrooke signed. And if there were problems, they would report it to the diplomatic corps, who would bring it up and take care of it. Yeah. Well, that was taken away and started operationally under OSCE. Okay. We kept on doing what we needed to do diplomatically from the US side, but we also had integrated within the OSCE system where we provided both police, military observers, and the fusion center, which was the intelligence gathering. Okay, that included all nationalities in there, and
Mhm.
it was interesting because everything that we were collecting, we had to share. So, you know, uh, then uh, a sad thing happened, a gruesome thing happened, and the timing of it uh, was really bad, and that's the Racha massacre. Uh, my people were on the diplomatic side, were the first ones on the scene. They reported it. Uh, it was reported back to OSCE. At that point in time, Ambassador Walker, William Walker, was in charge. He came out there and saw what we saw. Uh, went back and at that point in time, if my recollection is really good still, I mean, uh, they reported it back, and of course, the Serbs are denying it, and they basically said, okay, you guys are persona non grata. Basically, you don't exist. Uh, at that point in time, I had to go pick up the person that I was reporting to back in Washington, D.C., in Macedonia, and come in to meet with Ambassador Walker. Then from there, drive to Belgrade to have meetings at the embassy there. And from there, drive to northern Bosnia, across the river from Bosnia in Croatia, or yeah, Croatia, Republika Srpska, Vukovar area, to meet my friend Paul, so Paul can take the Department of State guy and go into Bosnia because both programs are under his purview.
Now, may I ask you, even though you had to stay neutral during your job, basically while working with the Kosovo military and government and the Serbia military and government, after the massacre, did it have any emotional toll on you, or did it lean you more towards Kosovo side, even though you had to stay neutral?
Uh, I'm always on the side of the weak. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I I've seen the atrocities that happen in Bosnia, Croatia, and all around, and I've seen what happened in Kosovo. That's inhumane, and it's always the Serbs that are doing it.
Yes.
Uh, in fact, one thing I didn't tell you when I came back to to Bosnia from Haiti, I bid on a contract where we actually uh, had to go uh, dig the remains of the Srebrenica massacre. You heard of that, right?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, that happened in an enclave in Republika Srpska, where the Serbs took uh, all the men out. They lined them up against the road, that dirt road, and there was a side of the hill, and then there's a creek. They lined them, and basically they were hands tied either back or the front, young and old men, and basically massacred them, shot them all up, and then covered their remains with dirt, while the United Nations was responsible for ensuring the security and safety of personnel. And it was run by the Dutch, that area. Unfortunately, the Dutch went to base and they did not come out. So the company, we actually went and dug up those remains, and it was gruesome there as well. But it's something that eats at you. It's I don't know. I don't sleep very deep because if I sleep deep, I'm afraid of my demons, the things that I see, and it just eats at you, and I don't want that pain. I suffer from PTSD. I mean, seeing all the things that I've seen since I was a child.
May I ask you if your PTSD worsened after Kosovo?
Yeah, and it something that you have to live with. And anyway, I where was I at? Anyway, so that Rorschach thing happened. I bring in my Department of State guy from pick him up in Macedonia. I'm driving a orange pickup truck, a U.S. military pickup truck that was painted orange. I drive it up to meet with Ambassador Walker. We walk into his office, and he basically says, I can't meet with you. We have a serious issue on our hands. We're persona non grata. I'm working on that, so please go. He couldn't have a meeting with us. You know, operationally, Ambassador Walker had input on what he wanted us to do because we have people here under OSCE that they control, but people that do other things under the Kosovo Diplomatic Consultation Mission. And I was a conduit, and I would take his input that would come through him to me directly or through my person in Washington, D.C., tell me what to do. So my friend from Department of State says, okay, hey, we can't do this. We got to leave. We left. We gassed up as much as we can because they cut off all the fuel to Kosovo at that point in time. And we drove the pickup truck from Kosovo, from Pristina to Belgrade. That was a rough ride. The whole time, people were honking horns at us and giving us the finger, telling us we're number one. That's anyway, and all the way up there, we tried to get fuel. Nobody would sell us fuel, so we were on fumes till we made it to Belgrade, and we stashed our pickup, and we were able to go buy, had a couple of locals go buy us some diesel fuel, and we filled the pickup up, stayed up there for a night. My friend did his thing at the embassy. Afterwards, we had to drive to Vukovar. That wasn't a fun ride, but I went out there, came back in and had lunch with my friend Paul and this guy, turned him over. Now I had to drive back into Serbia. Okay.
So from Vukovar to Serbia.
Yeah. At that point in time, there was a right outside of Vukovar, there was a checkpoint,
Mm-hmm.
basically national checkpoint. So you had to go through that, and they wanted to argue with me and not let me in. Yeah. Uh, so uh, it was tough getting back through. One of the things that I used to do is I used to wear bracelets, gold bracelets, and for years I always kept on me either coins or gold.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, that's the only thing I had. He wouldn't let me through, and that's what I bribed him with, and he let me through. Gave him the bracelet, and he let me through, drive through, and gave me the finger on the way out. And I felt fuel in Croatia, basically the Vukovar area there, the Croatian part. I felt fuel and came back in, drove to Belgrade, uh, didn't have enough fuel, and for my safety, they didn't want me to drive alone all the way to Kosovo. So what I did, we stashed our truck, and we had people from Kosovo come and pick it up, a team, and I went in an unmarked vehicle that was uh, hired by U.S. Embassy to take me down back to Kosovo, to Pristina. So I was in Pristina, and then, of course, what happens? Uh, one of my guys that was on the military side, on the diplomatic observation side of the house, got into an accident. They were playing chicken with the local Serbian police. They had a head-on collision. Our car flipped, and my person got really, really bad. Uh, they medical evacuated him to uh, Macedonia. That was a joke because they couldn't provide him the medical service that we needed. So when that happened, I took a change of clothes. Uh, it was cold, and I took my computer and went and rented a hotel at the Ali Pali, Alexander Palace Hotel. Then I worked on getting my uh, uh, person a medical vac. We had him stabilized enough to where I could medically evacuate him to a near location in Landstuhl, Germany, where we had a U.S. military hospital, on his own because I couldn't leave the mission. Yeah, got him stabilized. About three, about 2 8. Was it? No, I, I got him stabilized at 6 a.m. We had the flight. I put him on it. He went to Germany, and he went and got treated. And I went to the Alexander Palace Hotel. On my way back, I called the Fusion Center, OSE. I said, I did the medevac. I'm coming back in. They told me, don't come back in. Stay where you're at. Yeah? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? We can't talk. Okay.
May I ask you what was running through your mind when they
Uh,
told you we cannot tell you what's going on, but do not come?
I knew something serious was going on because at that point in time, we're still negotiating of staying in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted us out. So I went back to the Alexander Palace Hotel, and something told me, hey, get a bigger room. So I got a suite. Yeah. And I had to pay extra for him to give me the suite because wonderful OSCE reserved the entire hotel. I said, I already got a room. So anyway, we negotiated that one. I paid extra for it. So at 2 a.m., my friend that I took to Bosnia, he was back in the US when this was happening. At 2 a.m., I get called. Pick up the phone. Hello, Aiman. Yes, sir. Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke basically says, get your stuff and get the hell out of Dodge. Something serious is about to happen.
So they were telling you basically you need to leave as fast as possible, no trace.
Yeah. So I told them, I said, I'm already out. I had to do a medical evac. And I gave my story that I called this morning. They told me to come in. He goes, well, good on you. Stay there. And oh, by the way, you got to meet your people. I said, I know, I'm on it.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but may I ask who exactly called you? Someone that was dealing with what was going on in Kosovo at the time, or your friend?
My friend that came from the Department of State and I was taking him around,
Mm-hmm.
he called me from Washington, D.C.
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay.
says Pop Smoke. So I was down there, and then I got a call, and my job, tried to meet my people, make sure everybody's out. So I had a list of my people. About 3:30 in the morning, I get called from U.S. Embassy personnel in in Serbia, in Belgrade, basically. Make sure you make sure that all embassy personnel, all U.S. Department of State personnel are out. I said, I don't have a list. I don't know who they are. Who left me in charge? Okay. So anyway, at 3:30, about 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning, they started coming out of Kosovo. And so I went to the border to greet my people, just account for them, make sure everybody's out. We uh, we accounted for all our people. We had one genius that was taking a bus from Republika Srpska after taking R&R to come down to Kosovo. We were able to intercept that guy, okay, and get him safe. Okay, we did that. Then I had two people that were in Belgrade, and all they did is just back up and went across the border in the middle of the night to Croatia, where we had operations. So here we are, we've got all my people. That night, in that suite of mine, I had over 20 people sleeping on the floor.
Oh my God.
There was no place to rent, no places to go. OSCE was ill prepared for this. Yeah. In fact, they ended up leasing hotels at Lake Ohrid.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought in people and moved them there as quickly as possible. What am I to do? I have people, no places to stay. We don't know what the mission is going to do. We don't know what OSCE wants to do. In the end, what we did is all my personnel that were under OSCE were sent to Ohrid. All my personnel that were under KDOM were with me in the hotel room. We found places for my personnel. We took them and stashed them in the area, in the region. And then all the personnel that were under OSCE, the OSCE decided they're going to move them from Ohrid to Vienna. And they were flying them all out of Saloniki and Macedonia. I couldn't get any tickets in Macedonia, So I got a ride from Ohrid all the way to Saloniki, okay, to the Greek border, actually, with Macedonia. And from there, I took a taxi to the airport in Saloniki, and I bought an airline ticket from there. Left there at 5 in the morning, okay, and went to Vienna. In Vienna, OSCE contracted Intercontinental Hotel, and that's where they put my people. Again, no money. So I spent about 3 weeks in Vienna with my people.